Right. So part of this is to understand these are the fundamental principles of law. It's the categories are to understand what each branch does, what the role is, and how it helps into forming our legal system. So scrolling down, you'll notice the next thing you'll see. I'll zoom in a bit here. Is the evaluation sheet. Now, as we all know, we evaluate things using knowledge, thinking, communication, application. I'm going to be using all those four strands to come up with your mark for this assignment. We're also going to be evaluating things based upon observations, conversations, and student product. So every assignment is going to have all three components, and I'm going to be evaluating different things from each of those components. So for example, we look at success criteria or the evaluation sheet. These tell me when I'm marking your work, these are the things I'm looking for. This is the only thing I can mark when I look at your work. So number one, for knowledge of content, I know all the categories of law. So basically, I'm going to make sure that you got it all there, that you've listed all of them, you know, which each one of those categories are. I know at least 7 types of categories of law, conversation. So through this process, I'm going to ask you guys some questions, both people here and both people on Zoom. I may ask you, hey, Ryan, tell me a category of law that deals with this. Or I'll say, Ryan, can you tell me 3 aspects of public law? Or whatever it is, right? I'll ask you a series of questions just to demonstrate your knowledge of at least 7 different things. Your responses are what gets you the mark. So if you did really good answers and you respond pretty well, you can get anywhere from 3+, 4-, 4, possibly even 4+ if it's perfect. And if it's something where you have find difficulty answering or don't give good examples, the mark goes down a bit. Next, thinking. These critical thinking process. I know that I must describe the purpose of that law, which means in your thing, you got to tell me why is that law there? What's the goal of that law? Every law in this category is designed for a purpose. It's not just some random law someone created. There's a role for it to be played in the overall scheme of our legal system. Use of planning skills. I know that I have to organize the categories of law familiar to figure 2.11 on page 54 of my textbook. Correct categories and the correct headings. So part of it is that in your pamphlet, you've got to shove a diagram that sort of shows how each of them are interconnected. And when you're organizing your pamphlet, you should have the right headings connected there. So if you're talking about public law, you're not going to mention contract law under that section because that's all you would focus on everything in public law. So you make sure that following that chart on page 54, how it's organized, you can see how our legal system is organized according to its categories. Okay, communication. I know that my pamphlet should use proper spelling and grammar. I know that my pamphlet should be visually pleasing, which means 2 things. Make sure you're spelling and using the language correctly so that when I read it, it makes sense and it's clear. Like I said before, I want you to write things as clearly and as simply as possible. Don't worry about using large words that confuse people. Just use words that convey information. And visually appealing means that the pamphlet should look like it's done professionally. It should have a look or a feel to it. It just can't be randomly put together. It should have a similar font. It should have a color scheme that doesn't offend or contradict the other ones. It should look like a piece of work that should be ready for publication. And I know that I can summarize the categories of the brochure or pamphlet. This process must be done for my teacher when possible. So this is pretty much the research process. So what I'm looking for is that you will do the work in front of me when possible. Online, you guys, you're just sort of working from home, and that you check in and show me outlines and rough drafts so I can give you feedback on how to improve your work or if your work's done really well. And I use that to help observe that you have used the research process to develop your work. So again, you can't just give it, I can't give you an assignment today and then tomorrow you're handing a perfectly good pamphlet. I need to see the process. I need to check in with you to make sure that you're doing all right. And that's over the next few days. So I will, sometimes ask you directly, can I see what you're doing? Sometimes I would say, okay, when you're done, the outline, please show it to me, just so I have a way of knowing that you are doing your best you can, and I'm here to help you if possible. All right, I'm going to stop this specific recording.